Nation, thank you so much for watching another episode shot in the car. Look at guys and gals, mostly gals actually. You've been asking, and I'm gonna give you the best possible explanation I can muster up. What is the highest paying job for a clinical research coordinator? There's a lot. My favorite, let's just preface it first with my favorite aspect of the coordinator position. In my opinion, it's the gateway to clinical research. The analogy I use, or maybe it's a metaphor, somebody in the comments let me know. It's like Grand Central Station, meaning once you get there, you can go anywhere you want. And that's like Grand Central Station. You can go anywhere you want once you get there. Other train stations, aka careers, they may only take you certain places, right? So this is one of the reasons why I love clinical research coordinator position. Another reason why I love it is it's so practical to get a job as a clinical research coordinator. And a lot of these research clinics, Yuma Clinical Trials is my current site, but even my previous clinics, South Coast Clinical Trials, Breakthrough Clinical Trials for the hardcore people, Global Clinical Trials. Do you guys remember all my startups? These are small community-based sites. They're not a household name like USC or University of North Carolina, but they employ primarily research-naive people. Like the economics, the financial incentives are to train research-naive people. And so that's another reason why I love study coordinators. You can get in as a study coordinator. Your first 3 months, your first 6 months, whatever it may be, we're going to discuss these topics at the SOS conference, Save Our Sites, which, by the way, Save Our Sites is a conference. The reason it's priced so low is so job seekers can come, or coordinators can come. It's priced really low. So once you're a coordinator and you've been a coordinator for 2 years, good things start happening. And some of those good things might be getting opportunities within your own clinic. So site director is one of the positions. Lead CRC is another one. So you start getting increases in your pay very quickly. Like when you come in research naive, you might get a really low salary. It's not exactly minimum wage, but it's not that great. But within 3 months, you get at least at my site, you get a significant increase in your pay because now you're a CRC. You're no longer a research assistant, you're a clinical research coordinator. Once you've done clinical research coordinator for a year or a year and a half, and you've proven and demonstrated that you are able to manage protocols effectively, and you understand how to handle deviations, and you kind of understand how to manage other people, you become what's called a lead CRC. My research assistant that became a coordinator, that became a lead CRC in about a year and a half at my site, Katie Welch. I just interviewed her on the podcast, so look on my video on my YouTube channel. You could see that video. She's going to be at SOS too, by the way. We promoted her to lead CRC because she's really good at it and she was the most experienced by far. And the next step after that is site director. And so for those of you asking, what can I do? What's the highest paying roles I can get? Being a CRC. Site director. Now, I wouldn't make someone a site director without at least 2 years of experience at my own site. That's the minimum. You have to have a solid understanding of not just how to be a coordinator, but you have to understand all the admin elements that go along with it. That is pre-screening, that is scheduling patients, that is customer service when it comes to patients being told, hey, your screen failed, but we do have other trials in the future. That is reminding patients of their visits. That is educating the community, doing community outreach out in the community. That is doing our videos. For my site, it's doing our community outreach engagement videos, going to interview local businesses in the area and posting them on our YouTube channel. That is getting studies for our site. That is a little bit of managing budgets and starting to get into invoicing. You may not necessarily do contract and budget negotiation. We outsource that. A lot of sites do outsource that. But invoiceables, tracking invoices, tracking receipts, what did we spend on dry ice, what did we spend on equipment, trying to invoice things back to sponsors, being in charge of patient recruitment initiatives when sponsors want us to, in our case, right now, they want us to set up and they want us to execute on our plan to do outreach to Native American communities in this area. So I'm the site director, so I'm the one who did that plan, and I'm the one who's executing, but there is someone in our site that is good at this particular aspect that I'm going to have her start training her on how to execute on some of these things. So that's site director. Site directors can make 6 figures easily at a site without leaving the site, without traveling. Usually site directors don't go to investigator meetings, but sometimes they do, so there is maybe some travel here and there. But site directors are in charge of everything. They're like, if they're not the owner / site director, which is me, if they are the employee site director, they are the right-hand person to the site owner. And they're usually paid not just a great base salary, like I said, 6 figures. Depends on your market. I mean, even here in Yuma, I would consider a 6-figure salary for my site director, but incentives as well. And incentives lined up with enrollment targets, enrollment projections, bringing on studies. I mean, you're really doing everything. Let's say you want something different, because there are, that is not a bad salary at all. You'd be hard-pressed to find a base salary of 6 figures without having to travel much, plus incentives, anywhere else. You'd have to be, you have to be at a good site for that, though. If you decide, hey, you know what, I want to go the more common route, because it's a lot of work to get to site director. It's a minimum of 2 years, but for most people it might be 5 years until they become site director. A quicker path to similar payment, so 6-figure salaries, almost no incentives though, is CRA. And CRA is also, in my opinion, a lot more stressful than site director. Site director can be stressful, but CRA, the traveling, just pours gasoline on the stress fire. And I've talked to so many CRAs that get burnt out, and then they want to go back to sites, or they want to do something else like project manager, which we'll get into those roles too. But by far and away the most popular route for CRCs, probably because it's the lowest hanging fruit, meaning you don't have to wait as long to be a site director as you do a CRA. As long as you have a bachelor's degree, you can go be a CRA within 2 years of being a coordinator. And that's the other thing about site director, you don't need any degree. You just need chops. You need business chops, you need coordinator chops, you need people skills. You need everything that a site owner needs, that an entrepreneur needs. Salesmanship, influence, all that stuff. Attention to detail, attention to quality, ability to manage people. You don't really need any of that as a CRA. But you do need a bachelor's degree or better, and that's an international equivalent is okay. CRAs can make 6 figures. There are no incentives. It is very stressful. You do travel a lot. But that is by far and away the fastest way to 6 figures after you've been a CRC for about 2 years is CRA. You've got to network a lot to get there. And once you're there, the grass ain't always greener on the other side. I know a lot of people that went from CRC to CRA back to CRC and take a drastic pay cut just because it's not worth it to them to travel. And honestly, travel takes a toll on your health, which is something a lot of people don't discuss. And I'm not talking occasional travel. I'm talking several times a month, 6 to 10 times a month you're on the road. You're at a different site, flights, away from your family, missed flights, getting rental cars. That's a lot. But I can see why a lot of coordinators are drawn to that, and it's definitely a great career, don't get me wrong. We have a CRA Academy, that teach people how to be CRAs, but it's not something you want to be in long term. Some people do. Some people they're built that way. But the majority of people, they want something. Once they're a CRA, then they're like, okay, what's next? Well, just like at a site, you can be a lead CRA, you can be a team lead, you can end up being a project manager, you can end up being a clinical trial manager, you can end up doing all kinds of stuff, even at the sponsor level. So, the CRC and CRA are two of the most common, not of the, two of the most popular positions in clinical research by far. And there's a reason why a lot of CRCs jump to be CRAs, because it comes with a significant pay increase. Now, what's been happening to a lot of CRAs, they'll do this, they'll be a CRA for a year or two, they get burnt out, and then they get poached by a competitor CRO or a sponsor that gives them like a 15% increase in their pay, because the CROs that they're currently working at, in my opinion, they don't do enough to keep their existing CRAs happy. So there's a lot of turnover because of this. So I'll jump for 10% increase in pay plus a sign-on bonus. And then they'll do this like every 2 years. And within 10 years, that's another decade, they've effectively given themselves raises by jumping ship. And you can definitely do that for a decade or so. Another thing to consider, maybe you've gone the CRC to CRA route, is site ownership. We have, in my DSCS consulting firm, we help a lot of research naive people get started and start their own sites. And a lot of these individuals, they're not research naive, but they're research naive to as far as starting their own clinic. They're CRAs and they're CRCs. And it makes sense because CRAs go to a bunch of sites. They probably have like 2 or 3 site visits a week. And they go to all these sites and they say, you know what, like, this is nothing special, I can do this. And you really can. But those first 2 years as a site owner, let me tell you, let these vlogs show you, you're not making any money those first 2 years. With me and Yuma Clinical Trials, it was in year 2 that we gave our first dividend to all the stakeholders, all the owners. But it wasn't until year 2, and that's only because I know what I'm doing. So if you're research naive and you don't know what you're doing and you don't go into it with advisors like myself and Chris, the company that we created for this purpose, you might go longer than that, and you might give up and say, you know what, this is not good either, because now I'm not making money. And it's very stressful as well to be a site owner, although the stress is different. The stress manifests itself differently than CRA, because CRA, you at least don't have to worry about money. But you just have to worry about logistics and balancing work life and balancing traveling and getting from place to place. But you don't have to worry about money because you've got a steady paycheck, you've probably got health benefits, retirements, and all that stuff. As a site owner, you don't have anything. You're on your own. You eat what you catch. And so that is another career opportunity for CRCs. I just interviewed Lucia Rodriguez. She's going to be at SOS as well. She's one of the panelists. Everybody go connect with her. Just watch my videos and you'll find her. But you'll find a bunch of people like this that I interviewed, CRCs that became site owners. One of my business partners, Monica Quitiva, she was one of my first CRCs. She was a hire at Global Clinical Trials as a research assistant / patient recruiter. And she became a site owner 5 years later. Owned her own site without me being involved at all. And she's doing well. But it's stressful. You can even ask her that and she'll tell you it's stressful, but it's stressful of a different kind. But at least you're in control of your own destiny. So those are 3 options right there for CRCs. It's site director. We're talking high paid opportunities. Site director, CRA, site owner. Now there's other roles, and I'm talking about roles immediately after being a CRC, not roles like clinical trial manager, where you have to go from CRC to then be a CRA to then be a CTM, or regulatory affairs. I mean, you could definitely level up to whatever you want to be. And then if you supplement that with education, you can do a lot more too. But I'm talking roles immediately after being a CRC. Those are the three that come to mind. I know a lot of other CRCs that went on to be in-house CRAs, but those are slightly lesser paid, but less stress as well. Also, project managers, slightly lesser paid than CRAs, but slightly less stress. There's data manager, again, slightly less paid, but slightly less stress. And there's all kind of other stuff like trial master file specialist, which actually are relatively well paid and relatively little stress. So that's something that a lot of people are not looking into, is trial master file specialist. Another thing might be study startup specialist. Another thing might be feasibility analyst. I mean, there's a lot of roles, but the three I mentioned are the highest paying ones immediately after being a CRC for a number of years. So you can definitely do more than the three I mentioned, but the person was asking about high paid. So there you have it. Let me know what you think. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Catch you later, Guru Nation. Bye-bye.